Buenos dias, clase. So today I'm going to tackle one of the more difficult things that Spanish students come across. And non-native speakers will struggle with it a lot, the pretérito and the imperfecto. So if you haven't watched them, go back and take a look at how to form the pretérito and how to form the imperfecto, because I'm not going to go over that here. I'm just going to dive right in. So both of these are the past tense, right? So let's look at the past. We'll have a timeline, and here's our present, right? So if you're trying to determine what's what, think of the pretérito as points on a timeline, right? Like last Wednesday, 3 months ago, last year, etc., right? Specific points on a timeline. What we're talking about the imperfecto, that's terrible, as periods of time in the past or indefinite time periods. It'd be like saying last Wednesday I went to the mall. That's going to be pretérito, right? That's because it happened last Wednesday. We can pinpoint it. Imperfecto would be I used to go to the mall. In the past, generally, I used to go to the mall. We're not pinpointing a number of times. We're not pinpointing when it happened. It's just something I used to do. That would be the imperfecto. Okay, so some other examples here we have with the imperfecto. So pretérito, imperfecto. So sometimes you're just looking for keywords. So pretérito, for example, would be el lunes pasado. Last Monday. En 2015, in 2015, right? La semana pasada. O una vez. O 1000 veces. One time or 1,000 times, because we're putting a specific number on it, right? Imperfecto, on the other hand, will be los lunes. On Mondays, I used to do something. Cuando era niño. When I was a child, right? You're talking about a general period. Muchas veces. Many times, because we're not putting a particular number of times on it. A veces, sometimes. Even if it's not many times, even if it's just sometimes, if you don't put a specific number of times on it, it's probably going to be imperfecto. Other things that the pretérito gets used for: actions that have ended. For example, I went to the mall. It's over, right? Actions that have ended. And generally in English, these are the ED verbs. I went to the mall. I talked to my teacher. I bought a book, etc., right? Whereas the imperfect, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Imperfecto, we're going to use this for emotions, what you used to feel in the past, emotions. We're going to use this for time in the past, time and weather. Now, time is a little bit tricky because you always think, well, if it was 2 o'clock, that's a specific period of time. But in Spanish, eran las dos. It was 2 o'clock. Partly because it falls into the category of background information, right? And how do you describe background information? Well, imagine that you have a photo that you took in the past, right? You have a photo, you're looking through an old photo, and you're talking to somebody, you're describing what happened in the photo. Would you use ED verbs in that photo, or would you use ING verbs in that photo, right? ING is like, so this is the difference between I walked, I was walking. You would use ING verbs, right? Oh, well, my grandmother was walking in this picture. I was playing in the grass. My sister was drinking water out of a mud puddle. The dog was barking, etc., right? So this is background information or setting a scene. Think of imperfect sometimes like that, background information or setting a scene, where the main action is going to be in the pretérito. Other things. If you have two actions going at the same time, dos acciones. So for this would be like saying in English, I was walking and talking on my phone, right? Those are both ing verbs, so this is going to be the imperfect. Now, The imperfect, the preterite instead would be I can't even write here. Interrupting action. Interrupting. I teach Spanish and French, and I'm a native English speaker, so sometimes my brain short circuits. Interrupting action. So the action that interrupts is in the preterite. Let me give you an example. I was recording a video for my class when my neighbors upstairs jumped on the floor, which they were doing, if you heard that. So them jumping on the floor interrupts the ongoing action of me recording the video. So the ongoing action is going to be imperfect, right? The ED would be them when they jumped on the floor, right? So that will be the preterite. And there are lots more intricacies to the preterite and the imperfect, but this should be enough to get you through for now. If you have any questions, ask your professor. Nos vemos.